Welcome to Make That Paper, the show where we talk about all the crazy jobs we do to make the cash we need to pursue our artistic dreams.
And because while the best things in life are free, a good margarita will cost about $10.
That's cheap. Tell me where. Seriously, is that too far?
Fine.
That's great. On this episode, we are chatting about the puppy patrol profession and the reality TV trade. Plus, we'll get the dirt on the casting intern task. We are your hosts, Jaime Parker Stickle
And Jason Bieber.
And today we are speaking with a super talented actor, writer, and producer who has been cranking out hit shows like Blippi, the Go Big Show on TBS, and then the new reality dating show, I'm so excited, Marriage Pact.
Yeah, I know what Jamie's next obsession is going to be.
For real.
Yeah, we all came up together. We all came up together on the mean streets of Hollywood at the now defunct Second City Hollywood. Bitterness.
Rude. Please
Sadness.
Welcome to the show, our very good friend and one of the nicest and best people ever, the one and only Carrie Weisberg.
Yes, Carrie
Hi, friend.
Weisberg.
It's
Hi.
me, I'm Carrie Weisberg.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun.
And that's it. And that's the show,
That's
right?
it.
And end recording.
I'm not gonna lie, we have 2 listeners this has happened to, but the first time it happened, they wrote us.
I was going to say, don't stop at after 2 listeners. Brag
We
on
have 2
10.
listeners. No, that this particular incident happened to that wrote me about it at the time. They were listening to the podcast at the gym on the treadmill, and they both fell off laughing so hard. So I'm just gonna tell y'all, no pressure, but Carrie is that funny. So we're gonna get into it.
Oh, I thought this was going to be like a trigger warning type thing where, like, listener, if you're on a treadmill at the moment,
walk, steep incline
Please.
and walk.
Yeah.
attach the cord to your shirt, the auto stop. Make sure that's firmly affixed.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
that'll save a life.
That's
Carrie
just a
is-
safety warning.
Carrie
Buckle
is
your
so
seatbelt if you're in the
talented.
car,
Yeah, we'll pull over
because Carrie Weisberg is here.
and
Guys,
she's.
let's-
You guys, honestly, sometimes I lurk on Carrie's social media because she's so funny and I don't know what she's gonna say next. And the fact that, like, I honestly feel like she is an influencer, even though I don't want to give you that title because I feel like you're better than that, because you're actually trained. This is a trained professional actress, mofos. So you're not an influencer, but you are my influencer. Yeah.
Oh, but my God, if you just put me on the level with some awesome Gen Zers, I have never been more
Yes.
flattered.
Yes.
Oh
You're
yeah.
so good. You're so good.
Oh,
For a
we're gonna
while,
move you into a hype house next week.
the way you
You're
can
right, yeah.
turn the
They
way
don't
you
want
can
me.
turn a story upside down, like
Oh.
you will be like God, I can't remember one of my favorite ones that I saved it in my Instagram stories. You were
I bet you it was my upstairs wildly
Oh.
crazy neighbor.
Those were great. If you're not following Carrie, follow her on social media because she has like running commentary on things. But sometimes you're like you do this, like, not lonely girl. I can't think of the right word that I've titled it, but I'm like, oh, should I reach out to Carrie? And then you make it so funny that I'm like, is this all really dry humor? This is all my feelings inside right now coming out.
It's
it's
just the
amazing.
funniest. It's just the funniest cry for help you'll ever hear.
That's what I'm
It
saying.
really is. It's
That's
every
what I'm
now
saying.
and then I have to be careful because, like, I think it's relatable, especially over the past few years where it's like everyone's a little sad and broken. But then, like, I'll post something that's like a little too earnest. And then, there's always a bit in there because I can't help myself. And then my mom will text me and be like, do we need to talk? And I'm like, Mama, no. Like my 9-year-old self comes out and I'm like, get out of my room.
So speaking of that, I have a crime novel I wrote that's completely fiction that I gave my parents an early draft copy of this year, like, because it's going to come out soon. Well, my agent will be happy to hear that. And she's like, where's it coming out? But anyways, I have to say that, otherwise
You heard it here first.
Sign up for the pre-order.
Anyways, she's not listening. No, she probably is listening. She likes the show. But I gave a copy to my mom, and definitely I have quoted the shitty shit my mom says, and I'd totally forgotten because it took me 4 years to write this book, and then edits and rewrites and whatever. It takes a long time to write a good novel. Period. I'm not even going to get into it, but my mom's reading it and I'm like, how's the book so far? And she's like, it's a little difficult. And I'm like, oh shit, did I put the part about being an alcoholic in there? Jesus Christ. About my mom being an alcoholic, which she denies, but is. And I'm like, but like, I have this line in it where I'm like, leave it to an alcoholic to teach you how to sober up the next day. And like her remedy for sobering up, which that's hers. It's trademarked. And she's like, Jesus Christ, this is a difficult story, Jaime. I thought it was fiction.
Oh my God. God bless. I mean, if we learn anything from the entertainment industry, nothing is truly fiction. It can't be. It's not possible.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's
Of course,
like,
nothing is truly true either.
that's also very, very true. Where it's like, you pull from what you know. That's how you're a good writer. You have to. Sorry, Mom.
Speaking of, let's get to your jobs, because I think pulling from what you know, you could just write an entire series of your jobs, because you have like this thing where you are incredibly intelligent, incredibly talented, and done the funniest jobs to like the most exclusive jobs. Like you go like from here to here. It's like you take these breaks in between. And the first one I want to talk about is dog walking with your fancy clientele.
Oh my God. So when listen, if anyone knows me, they know that I'm a dog freak. I've always loved dogs. I've got a new puppy. She's a psychopath and we love her for it. My older dog, Millie, is my entire soulmate. Like, you know, people say like your heart beating outside your body when you have a human child. This is my heart. So I've always loved dogs. But when I first moved to LA, I was broke. I had no work. I didn't know how to get work. So one of the first jobs, I was like, I know I can do this. I can walk people's dogs. So it was this cool company that like you kind of make your own schedule. You have like a window of, I think at the time it was like a 3-hour window. Like you come walk my dog between 1 and 4 p.m. and you have that person's keys. You know, you meet the dogs and the people first, and there are a handful of clients that each walker has. So I always had this regular, and I won't say who they are, but they were on a TV show for a very long time.
Are they old? Are they boomer old or Gen X old?
They're Gen X old.
Okay.
And they are so kind. They had this beautiful German Shepherd, my favorite dog to walk. She was sweet, she was mellow, and more often than not, when they knew I was coming, she would be like on their side yard, you know, like this fancy ass house. So they would leave the dog outside in like a locked gated area. And so when I would start approaching, you know, dogs can smell you. So I would always say like, I was like, hey girl, it's me. And she would just like, I could hear her like wiggling and like being excited. She's so well mannered. So more often than not, I would just get her outside. And one day I showed up, and at the time they had gotten another German Shepherd. Listen, I'm a rescue mom. I love all dogs. I will love your purebreds. I'm not a shamer, but I will say my rescue babies are perfect. Anyway, so they got another German Shepherd, and this time there was a puppy and the older girl, they weren't outside. And so they were like, if they're not outside, just ring the doorbell. Usually the housekeeper answered and was like, oh, here they are. They were just like eating or whatever. I ring the doorbell. This motherfucker, TV star, famous, answers the door. And his wife, first of all, his wife is, she's a pediatric heart surgeon, I think, or some kind of like crazy brain, really beautiful soul, like wonderful woman, so educated, hardworking. This guy answers the door in a shorty robe. Must have been her robe, nothing underneath. And I was like, I'm just here for the dogs. He's like, come on, just hang out with me by the pool for a little bit. And I was like, you know, a baby. I was 23 maybe. And I was like, you know, wanted to be an actor, wanted to do anything to do with TV. And I was like, all the things in my brain are happening right now. And I was like, what do I do? So I go and I sit by the pool and we like chat for a while. And I'm like, probably shaking. I don't remember, but I was like, I'm going to go take them on a walk. And I leave. And it's one of those things in my life that I was like, I don't think it was a Me Too situation. It wasn't a Me Too situation. I don't think it was even going that direction. I think homie was living his best life in his beautiful mansion and was like, oops, you caught me while I was making my coffee naked and threw something on.
His wife bought that mansion. Even if he was on TV, like that's her money, people. That wasn't his money.
Yeah,
her mansion, It's her
That's right.
robe.
It's her life.
Listen, they have a full-time housekeeper that answers the door for them. That's her money. That is her.
Well, not that day.
She makes that paper. Okay.
Exactly. Ooh.
Okay. So, but at the moment,
She's
you're
so
feeling
smart,
like,
you guys. Carrie Weisberg is so good.
but okay. So at the moment, you are, in hindsight, you think it was fine. In the moment, you thought you were maybe in a bad situation.
Yeah, but also there's part of me, like fresh to LA that's like, is this how I get a job on his
Right.
TV show?
No, yeah.
Is this
100%.
like, is he gonna remember me now? And then he's gonna tell, I didn't know the thread, but I was like, at the time I was like, is he gonna tell the casting directors that he's got the coolest dog walker? Like, no, of course not. I'm fucking covered in dirt. I've been picking up dog shit all day. I'm sweaty because all you do is like drive around this massive sprawling city and walk other people's dogs and clean up their shit. And listen, I would do it now, but
Right.
it's not like glamorous, like he hit their walk, by the way, was like, I would take those dogs to Runyon. So it's like not like a stroll.
Right.
It was,
Yeah.
it was a legitimate hike with 2 German shepherds and and so I was like, I'm off. And he's like, all right, well, maybe next time I'll walk with you. And I was like, then why are you paying me?
Because he needs a companion.
He doesn't know how to have a day off.
Like,
he wants some friends.
It's not necessarily a part of the show, but I really do feel like it is a part of the show to talk about that, like as young talent coming, especially as women. And I know it does happen to young males as well, but proportionately to young women, it happens. And we're supposed to navigate as 23-year-olds, 24-year-olds, what's appropriate and what's not, what room, like your job through your company is to go in that house and collect those dogs. So you say, and the fact that people would be like, well, you said yes and went in and sat by the pool with them. So if something happened, where's your culpability in that? No culpability.
None.
He has been there. He is a grown up.
He's a grown up. He's a grown up. And it was like, it was just so strange. So like I had the weirdest, it was one of those, I loved that job and it was flexible and it was cool. And I got to see LA a little bit, like get a little bit used to the city, which was nice, but it was just so strange. And it's like such a strange way to interact with someone that like has this job, this life that you are so aspiring for, and be like, okay, well, maybe one day I'll have a dog walker. But like, it's like, do I interact with him this way? First of all, I will never. Well, that's not true. I would do it if it's better for the dog.
Listen, if you're busy, if you're shooting, your dog shouldn't suffer.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But it was so strange. And then the other tiny tidbit about this is it's so funny. And I don't even think that he knows this. So like peripherally, Joe Kelly, you guys know Joe Kelly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Of the Ted Lasso world and much more. He had a dog and I didn't know him at the time, but like this is then I realized it later. He had a dog that I loved and only rarely got to walk. The walker, he had like a specific walker and I would cover, named Ladybug.
Oh.
And it was, I think she was a corgi. I think she was a full corgi. Maybe she was a corgi mix, but so she had like little baby leggies and she was so sweet.
So
and
she's not doing all of Runyon.
No, we did a smaller walk. We walked around her little neighborhood but years later I got into the comedy world where I met you beautiful humans, and I was like, oh well, I know Joe Kelly, but Joe Kelly doesn't know me because I used to walk his dog. I used to be in his house and take his dog out, and can you please tell him that I say hi to Ladybug? I would like tell our mutual friends, and it's so weird. It's so weird. But it's like one of those, like, I never would have thought I would have.
It's a
collided world.
No, absolutely.
What I always say is, one, the people who end up here, who stay here, know it the minute they get here. They land and they're like, oh, I'm home. I can never leave. I'm home. It has nothing to do with the business, but it's a cultural community of artists in general. You are understood in a way that you've never been understood your whole life. Two, if you make it here past 10 years, which those of us who belong here do, you end up, you're only 3 degrees. Kevin Bacon, 6, 7 degrees. No, you are 3, 2, 1 degree away from everybody else who's lasted here.
That's right.
Totally.
And not just that, but is the more you day job,
Yeah.
the more you know people in intimate ways
Yeah.
that are unexpected.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember being at a Hollywood party and meeting a producer and knowing, but not being able to tell them, like, I've actually been through all of your finances
Yeah.
because
Because
I
when
worked
you're
in an
working-
accounting firm.
Right.
And
But that sentence alone, they're like, sir, you're arrested. This is a citizen's arrest.
yeah,
And
yeah,
get the fuck out of my house.
yeah, exactly.
I also think that's funny because that's how you get a lot of dirt and gossip. And you're like, no, it's not hearsay. It's okay. That is technically hearsay, but it's true. I trust this person. I did their makeup on something. They bought expensive moisturizer from me. God damn it. Yeah, that's how I met one governor's wife. Yeah. Anyways, the point and I found out a lot about Arnold Schwarzenegger, which by the way, she says he's a very good man, but he stole the governorship. FYI. No,
Ooh.
I'm totally, we're not going to do that.
Only the first time.
Only the first time. But what I'm saying is you actually meet so many people that are so influential or involved in people's lives. And it's just like everybody's just a person, and it's like a big high school of gossip and who knows who and who was doing what and who's actually a really great person, and it's crazy.
And Jamie, the thing with that though in this industry, and this is what I always tell, like when I'm on a new show and there's like a PA that comes up to me and is like, I want to do what you do. I'm like, listen, if I can give you 2 pieces of advice. One, be nice to everyone. It takes nothing to be kind. You're gonna have bad days, and that's okay. You don't have to like fake it. You don't know who anybody is ever in this world, in this town, in this industry. So just be nice, start off that way. If they're an asshole back to you, then you can be an asshole back. That's fine. I'm fine with that. And number 2,
I have Carrie Weisberg's permission to be an asshole. Okay.
Yeah, look, if someone cuts me off in traffic, you don't want to know what I'm saying to them. And number 2, in this town, no one knows what they're doing. Nobody.
Right, exactly.
Not one person, not the most successful showrunner. They do a good job because they don't know what they're doing, and they adjust and they make changes and they listen to their people around them and they surround themselves with good people. But to get where you are, no one knows. There's, everyone always says there's not like one clear path, but the secret is that no one knows what the fuck they're doing. We don't know what we're doing. You just do it.
That's absolutely right. We come from a people that are like still like wait till you're asked and not putting out, don't put forth your ideas. Like when I was coming up, I was a writer forever, and I started in the news when I was in college. I was in Detroit local news, and I did that for less than a year after I got out of college. It's not ever what I wanted to do, but I'm from Detroit and there wasn't a lot of industry there, right? And I knew where I wanted to go, but it took a minute. But nobody wanted to like make a wave, follow the path. This wasn't my point. When I came out here, it was like I quit my job in the news and I just decided I was going to leave. And I drove across the country by myself, and I didn't know anybody, and I was determined to make it. Oh, I was a writer. That was it. Okay, sorry. Got back.
We got back.
So I've always been I've always been a writer. I was a writer in college. I was writing on shows in college. I was writing in high school for shows. And when I got out here, and acting has always been a huge part of my life, they were like, do not say you're a writer. Do not try to be a writer. You are an actor. Like my first agent. I probably would be in a different place with my career had I not fucking listened. And every time I tried not to listen, they slapped my fucking wrist, and it was sit, do as you're told. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, it's not hard.
It's not surprising that there's so much bad advice baked in. There's good advice too, and I think your advice is fantastic. But
I think it's fantastic.
This industry, like every industry, is dependent upon workforce. A lot of people have to stay at the bottom for everyone to climb on top of them.
Yeah, and it's really, really interesting that you say that, Jamie, because it took me years to figure out exactly the same thing, where it's like, I've always been an actor. I was in shows my whole life. And I even in college, I wouldn't do improv because I was like, I do scripted.
Right.
And like, look at me now, what a fucking joke. I teach improv. I live in the improv community. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
But like it took me years to find that for me. And
Yep.
and I was able to make a really hard turn a couple of years ago to less side jobs as they're defined and more like production jobs, but still like, when I'm on set and I'm producing a TV show or a producer on a TV show, it's taken me years to get here, but I still am like, yeah, I'm a writer and an actor also. And
Right.
you have to remind people all the time. You have to
Exactly.
I have to remind myself, but it's also it's tricky because like my soul, my entire body, I feel I just want to be an actor. But I also found love for the the things that are paying my rent, and I'm happy to do those, side jobs that exactly what both of you are saying. Like, I'm not letting people step on me anymore because it's like, no, you can't be a producer because then what if you miss an audition? And it's like, but I don't. And
Right.
I've made it clear that I'm doing all of these things. And if you're good and communicative at what you do and your jobs, turns out people want you to be successful and you can do it all. You can do all of the things.
Yeah.
It's amazing the way, and it has changed so much, but I remember coming into this town and being told, you need to maintain separate resumes as a writer and as a producer, as an actor,
Yep.
and not to mention anything else you do,
Right.
because no one wants to know you do anything else. And yet at the same time, you'd watch the fucking Academy Awards and see people like be ultra celebrated for being a triple threat.
Yes.
Yes. But not
Yes.
you.
But not you.
But
Not you.
Not you. No.
It's-
It's weird.
It's such a mind game.
It really, really is. And it's like
Yeah.
it's frustrating because I'm trying to help, the one or two people that come up to me on those sets that are like, I want to do what you do. And I was like, what is it that you really want to do? Like
Right.
they're like, oh well, I want to produce, but I also like one day want to be a director. And it's like, go talk to the director. They're people too. They are
Yeah.
humans. And someone had to give them their first job as an AD.
right.
Someone had to give them their first job as an AP. Someone has to pull you up, and no one knows what you do until you say it. Like we all live in our own brains all the time, and it's like I have dreams, I have goals, but
Yeah.
no one knows them if you don't talk about it.
And stop
And
asking
so,
permission to go talk to someone about their job.
Exactly.
Like the minute
yeah.
I stopped asking permission was huge.
It's tough for women.
And it was tough. It didn't happen until I had a child of my own, which is like
Mhm.
feels like a very long time to have lived a life, to only then have a child and go, why the hell have I been asking people for permission to live my life the way I want to? And
Yeah.
that's why everything started at 40 for me, because I stopped,
Yeah.
you know?
And it's like it's ingrained in us as women, I
Yeah,
think too,
100%.
unfortunately, that it's like stay small, don't take up space, do what you're told. And
Be
unless
pretty.
like
Be
be pretty.
If you want to be noticed, be pretty. Not be
Yeah.
smart, not be talented, be pretty.
Smile more.
Smile more.
more and like
Be approachable.
don't be annoying and don't be bossy and don't be loud. And it's like those are all the things that are intrinsically me. Like I am annoying, I am loud, I am bossy.
I
And
never thought you were annoying.
I know I'm annoying.
I'm annoying too.
No.
People tell me I'm annoying all the time. Somebody told me in the writing
Oh.
program at Second City that I was annoying, and I was
Yeah.
like,
Maybe
fuck you.
I just
Yeah.
like annoying people. Is that it?
Yes,
I mean,
you do.
it could be.
You do.
I
It
do.
could be.
Yeah.
It's it's part of our charm. I'm fine with it. I'm just intrinsically a little sister, like I know I'm annoying. And I'm fine with that. It took me a long time to be fine with it because everything's like exactly what you said, be pretty, be smile. And it's like,
Yeah.
I no. No.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's still hard for me to go outside without makeup on because I'm afraid, even going to the grocery store, that a person I auditioned for 10 years ago will see me and be like, well, you're uncastable now. And I'm like, you didn't cast me then, for fuck's sake. What do you
No.
mean? Go.
Oh, I was gonna do a little steering here. I'm just gonna put my
Steer.
hand
Steer me.
gently on the rudder of this ship.
Do it. I'm just having too much fun. Do it.
I know, and it's great, but we do have a topic.
Yes.
And
Okay.
that topic is the jobs that you have done. And I would like to talk to you about a job that we did together. Well,
Which one?
it was your job, and I was kind of an interloper.
Which one?
And that's working at Second City.
You worked
Because-
there?
Mhm.
Well,
Oh yeah.
I know Carrie did. I didn't
yeah.
know Bieber did.
So
You were an
yeah,
intern, weren't you?
I was an intern. I've never talked about this on the show.
Wow.
Yeah, I was an intern at Second City Hollywood, where Carrie was a professional employee. Were you not?
You were
No, I
professional in
was.
the
I
office
wouldn't-
when I was a writing student there.
Yeah, I wouldn't use the P word for me. I worked there. I got paid and I was an employee.
Okay.
Professional.
All right. Okay.
She doesn't want any
May-
lawsuits, so keep going.
Right.
Fair. I think we're outside of the statute of limitations, but I
Sure.
will honor your reticence.
No, I'm just messing
that-
with you.
That said, I remember, so I was a student at Second City and you were
Yep.
working in the office, and I just remember popping by for whatever reasons, because I was bored and lonely and needed friends. And somehow you made working at Second City seem like such a fun job. I didn't know what you were doing. I knew you had a desk
Aw.
and you had to be at
Uh-huh.
that desk.
Sure.
For all I know, your job was to keep the desk from moving. But
Mhm.
you made it seem so fun and friendly that I was like, how do I think I'm missing something on this whole experience by not working in the office. So I got
Aw.
an internship at the office, only to find out afterwards that the reason to do so was to get free classes,
Correct.
which I never did.
That's why
Never
I
used
didn't
them.
know. That's why I didn't know, and you never said anything. You're probably embarrassed.
I think I did like 2 free drop-ins. I think I still have credit.
I'm 100% sure
Oh.
you do. I'm 100% sure.
I'm pretty
No.
sure you were kind of in charge of that book, weren't you?
Could you?
Yeah, there
gift
was that book. You could have, but RIP.
Yeah.
I'll pop into the Brooklyn Training Center and say I'm due
Oh.
for
Well,
like a
let,
drop-in.
let me talk about Carrie Weisberg, and I'm gonna watch what I say
Oh,
because there were some office people. I thought everyone was like, remember Jonathan Brown? Was that his name?
I was
Yeah,
Jonathan Browning.
Browning.
Yeah, that's the same name as our dentist, but he's not our dentist. Anyways, he was great.
No. Thank God he's not your dentist.
I-
Jesus.
That would be crazy. But
A
there were
nightmare.
I would let him in my mouth though.
I would let him in my mouth too.
some. That's weird, you guys. I'm just gonna be the one that says it. I will say this: Carrie Weisberg was the person you wanted to get on the phone when you called.
Yeah.
That is the kindest thing that you could say.
You always hoped everyone was like, I would talk with like Katie Krentz and Mirage Thrams and Matt Denicourt, and we were like, call between these hours when Weisberg's there.
Mhm. Mhm.
It was like, it was actually kind of funny. Like, I'm sure you didn't know most of us, but we were like,
Oh yeah, I knew you.
calling Carrie Weisberg's working. That
Oh,
was the
that's
best.
really, really
It
sweet.
was
You know,
funny.
it was one of those things. Bieber, you said it perfectly. I started as an intern because I wanted friendship, and I was already taking classes, so I was going to use those credits. And then and then I was like, I can't be an intern anymore. I have to like, pay rent too. And they're like, oh, well, we'll hire you. So I, was part-time, and then I was full-time, and it was a customer service job. It was a customer service job for a theater that I loved and a community I loved. And I will
And the customers
say-
were us.
and the customers were like
Yeah.
fun people. And it was a small office staff. I will say that Jonathan Browning is one of my favorite people on this entire planet. He is one of the best human beings. He, at a certain point during my career in the office at Second City, kept me single-handedly sane and alive and joyful because he is so funny. He is just like a good soul. And it's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard to work in that office because you see it's customer service, but also you see a lot of growth in other people, and there's that tinge of jealousy that you're constantly trying to like push down and also celebrate and support your community and your
Oh,
friends. But you see it all, and you see, teachers can't teach anymore because they get a series regular, and you're like, oh, that's amazing. Also, what am I doing sitting behind this desk? So, you guys saying
Yeah.
all of those nice things about me in the office is very kind, because eventually I had to leave because I was feeling um sad. I was feeling like I can't, I'm gonna get stuck here. It's easy to take a regular paycheck, right? It's
Yeah.
easy for health insurance. It's easy to have a consistent flow of money to take care of your life on the surface.
And
But
you
then,
justify it as adjacent to your career.
Yeah.
So as long as you're amongst your peers and
Mhm.
in that world still, you're like, oh, I'm doing it.
Close
doing
enough,
it,
close enough.
Close enough. But then you realize,
Mhm.
oh, I'm not pushing hard enough because I'm so comfortable.
It's comfortable and it's easy. Like at a certain
Mhm.
point, I was registering people for classes, I was keeping track of some intern hours, I was building classes, I learned the program that they would use, and it was easy. It
Yeah.
was like you show up to work, you do the job, you go home.
Yeah.
But then I remembered, I think this is true probably for any creative person, that it's like people use the word soul sucking a lot.
Yep.
And I will say that that's what that was, but also my own fault. I was in that tornado of paying my bills is all I need to do. And then I was sad on the inside. And it's like, okay, well, how can I do both of those things? So that I
Mhm.
eventually I'm grateful that I was able to leave and still pay my bills, because that's still important, guys. But
Sure.
it also, I was grateful for the community it brought me, because like I wouldn't have crossed paths with people like both of you if I wasn't in the office. I was a different, I graduated behind a lot of people that I'm good friends with now, but people come in and out of that building, or would come in and out of that building for community,
Yeah.
sometimes just for one show every 6 months. And it's like, oh my God, there's my good buddy Dan Backadall. It's so good to see
Right.
him. What's he up to? Like it's nice to see these people and still feel connected to him. So it was like tough to leave. Exactly. The adjacentness was keeping me alive. It was like I was on life support, and that was the thing that was breathing for me.
Yeah. That's a
Um,
great way to explain it. Yeah.
But
um,
also keeping you dependent upon it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and they wanted that, right? Like
Of course.
I was good at that job.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All I had to do was answer phones and sign people up for classes, and I could do that. I could be nice on the phone. I could be having a bad, shitty day, but like my parents taught me manners, and that's never left my soul. So I'm good at customer service, and they wanted me to stay there, and I get it. And so that was tough too, because it's making a choice. It's asking permission, Jamie. I had to ask myself
Yeah.
permission to leave, and that was scary.
And let me ask you, did you have something lined up when you left? I know Jason wants to talk more about Second City probably.
That's it.
but-
That's
oh,
it.
okay,
I was
good.
going to ask, what did you give yourself permission to
yeah.
do next?
Yeah, I didn't. I had, so earlier that same year that I left Second City, I had worked as an associate producer on a show called Great Minds with Dan Harmon, and it was on the History Channel. It was an amazing show. The Cliff Note version is he and his assistant Spencer built a simulacrum machine and brought historical figures back through time for 24 hours. So it would be like William Shakespeare would come through the machine, and Dan Harmon would play Dan Harmon and show him our world now for 24 hours. And each of I think it was 18 episodes, they were 15 minutes, like I said. But each guest was like an amazing improviser or comedic talent. We had people like Jack Black and Aubrey Plaza. We had Paul F. Tompkins do an episode, Ron Funches do an episode, Gillian Jacobs. I mean, it was an amazing cast of rotating comedic people. And it was truly only like Spencer, Dan, and this guest for each episode.
Wow.
And my friend's production company was the production company on it. And he was like, you got to be in the room with Dan Harmon. Like, I can do this. I can get you in the room as an associate producer. You can essentially be, I was essentially like the scripty and associate producer, and helped brainstorm and write some episodes. And I was the only one that they didn't know. And I got to say, Dan Harmon is a comedic genius, and could
Yeah.
not have been uh Can you still hear me? My
Yeah.
earpods
Yeah.
did something. Oh, he could not have been kinder to me as a nobody. I was a nobody. So I'd done that show while working at Second City because they shot on the weekends. It was like a side job for everybody. So I did 18 episodes. So it was like every weekend I was on set for, 18 hours
Wow.
both days. And when I was leaving Second City, I didn't have a job lined up, but I was like, I want to do that. I want to be there. I want to be in that world. I know it's possible. I got a taste of it. And nothing was lined up. And I kind of just, it's one of those, I hate to say this because it's so cliche, but it's like one of those jump and the net will appear.
Yeah.
And I did, and it did. And a couple months later, actually about 6 weeks later, when I was like starting to panic, my same friend called me for that production company, was like, hey, we're doing a pilot of the show called Safe Word. Do you want to be an associate producer on it? And it was just the pilot at the time. And I said yes. And that was it. I mean, I got that job, and it turns out that sometimes TV shows get picked up and you get to do the job. And if you're nice to people and you do what you say you're going to do on set, and if you do the job you say you're going to do, sometimes people rehire you, and it's like, holy shit, this is working. And so that's how I got out of it. I mean, it was a true leap of faith. I was just, young enough to do it and dumb enough to expect that I wasn't gonna just crash and burn, and I did it.
Yeah.
And did you feel like as you're in this new job, you've left Second City and the net has caught you, do you feel as you're doing this job, this is a side job, this is not my thing. Or did you feel like I have found something and this could be my new thing?
Yeah, no, it was a side
Or
job.
part of my new thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not a producer. I don't know what that means. I want to write TV. I want to be acting on TV. And I thought of it as a side job in that, who am I to produce your TV show? How dare I try to even like move up in this world? But like, I want to be around it. I want to see how it works. Which is why I think people are like, you should PA, because that will give you the same kind of inner workings of how shows happen. But yeah, no, to answer your question, I don't think in that moment I was like, who's going to hire me to produce anything? Who am I? But I just kept doing it. And then I realized the secret to that side of it is like the unscripted world. As a producer, you're the creative producer, you're the writer of that show, right? It's not union.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, maybe this is something I could do. But it was like it was a definite slow burn.
Yeah.
And that burn kept going because you did that show, you did Go Big Show, Marriage Pact, which it was only a pilot, right? Or it's only a pilot so far.
No, so I've done a ton of stuff. I only gave you guys a like short list because like we're not here to
Just do the resume.
it would take
like,
us the whole time.
Okay.
It's just like bang, boom, boom, boom.
Right.
Who's got time?
Right. I've done a lot of like pilots and stuff, but Marriage Pact, I just got back from. We shot the whole season in Colombia. That is something. It's an interesting turn in my career because I mostly do either, like the Dan Harmon show is technically unscripted, but they were improvisers, so there was like a script that they didn't.
It's not
use,
reality television.
It's not reality, but Marriage Pact is reality, which is like, still under the unscripted umbrella.
Yeah.
But for Marriage Pact, I was the host producer, which is the host writer. So what I did was scripted, but again, not WGA. So we get the producer title. But it's just like, it just keeps going. And if I take anything from the Second City improv world into my career, if I look back at it, it's saying yes to these shows. Like I didn't know what I was doing. That's the thing. No one knows what they're doing. And you take the job and you figure it out. It's like, oh, this job, Safe Word, for example, was like kind of a game show, comedy game show. And it's like, I don't know how to write a game show, but it's like, okay, well, we need a game. And it's like, oh, I can make a game up. Okay, well, we need to make some jokes happen within the game. It's like, oh, I can write jokes. And it's like, okay, we need to make teams and we need to make it kind of flow with the host, and then it's like, oh, well, we know the game, we know the jokes. It's just like it's a
Yeah.
puzzle. You put the pieces together. It's like, oh, I guess I can produce a TV show. I guess
It's improv.
Yes.
That's
it's
amazing.
improv.
Which is
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
games and putting pieces together and layering it. Yeah.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
crazy.
So
That's
it
great.
just kind of like keeps snowballing. And now on the same vein, there have been a handful of shows that I've said no to because now I know what I like doing. But if I hadn't said yes in the first place, I wouldn't know that. So like it's a cool, still slow burn where it's like, I think I told you guys I did a pilot in Vegas a couple years ago, and it's a reality show, and I was a producer on it, and I try to stay away from producing reality, because these reality producers and reality productions are so hard. These reality
Mm.
teams can run laps around scripted people. They're so good at their jobs. These camera guys are running cameras 24 hours a day. I mean, it's insane. They're so good, and they're weaving stories out of nothing that regular normal humans do, in this house or whatever it is. They're amazing. Reality TV crews are unstoppable. They should run this country. It's unbelievable. But it's
Hmm.
hard, and it's like I don't want
I get it.
I don't want that, and I also don't want to mess with people's real lives. And I think I've been lucky enough to work with people when I do reality that are very that have a ton of integrity, and they don't mess with people's lives. But we all know there are some shows out there that create drama that doesn't exist, probably.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get stuck in that world. So I did a pilot that was a reality show, and these girls were great. They were amazing.
This
And
was
I was
with a pageant show for girls with disabilities.
different. That was a docu-series.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
This
Dax.
Vegas show, this this Vegas show was like a bunch of women running a salon, and it ended up
Oh.
getting picked up, and they asked me to produce it, to be a story producer, or in the field with them, help out. And I loved the cast, I loved the production company, and it was like a hard no for me because I knew
Hmm.
what it was, and the
Yeah.
girls knew what it was, which was felt good. But that production company was like, but please just like think of it as a paycheck. And I was like, I don't I don't want to. I want the money. And so it's a cool balance of being able to like still listen to that soul that got me out of Second City,
Yeah.
if I'm being
Yeah.
honest,
Yeah.
following
Yeah.
that path. But the one, Beebs, the one that you brought up, this docu-series, this was a pilot I did last year, and it changed my life. This show changed my life, and I am begging anyone that works at a network to pick it up because it is magic. These girls are magic. It's about a pageant called Miss Amazing, and it's a pageant for girls and young women, and actually I think up to 35-year-old women with disabilities. They're all differently abled. Some are cognitive disabilities, some are physical, some are both, some are, invisible to the naked eye. But this pageant it sounds, the word pageant is not accurate, but it's as close as you can get to describing it. It's teaching these girls and women to advocate for themselves. So they get on stage, and all they have to do is introduce themselves. That's one section. And then the next section is they do a talent. And by talent, you can get out there and just, one girl did a baking section. One girl did like a line dance. One girl just got out there and like introduced all of her stuffed animals. Like it was whatever you want it to be. And then there's an evening gown section where the pageants that I went to, frat boys actually were their escorts, and they got to pick who escorted them on stage, and all they do is walk out in a different dress and they leave, and then everyone gets a crown. Everyone is a winner, and then there's one bigger winner of each age group, and that bigger winner goes to nationals. And so we did a docu-follow of a couple of the regional pageants, and these girls have been through the worst of the worst in life, and they have so much sparkle and so much shine to them. that we can learn so much from watching these girls grow and advocate for themselves. And, you know, if one of the girls, if she made it on stage, that's a victory for her, and everyone's clapping and everyone's supporting her. And they've had a tough life. And one thing, I got to do all of the interviews. So I was interviewing moms, I was interviewing the girls' friends. And one thing I would ask all the parents or guardians of these beautiful women, I was like, listen, if you were to give the world, I gave you a microphone and the world can hear you right now, what's one piece of advice you would give to the world about your daughter or your person, or about the disabled community? And they were like, just say hi. You see them, we see you see them, they see you see them. Just say hi, and they think that they've made a best friend, and they will talk about you for days, and you made their whole day. And I'm sitting, you know, like I'm doing the interview, so I'm like sitting next to the camera, not mic'd, but trying not to cry all the time, and still sobbing and like breathing into my sweater because like trying not to fuck up this beautiful recording. And it's like magic. I mean, anyway, I could talk about these girls forever, but that show, I never thought I would do anything in the docu world. I didn't think I was smart enough, or you know, I come from comedy, so like I didn't think it was in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But the docu follow world is unbelievable. And if anyone gets lucky enough to do a show that's inspiring like that, and meet people that just rock your world, it's really a really cool experience. I would drop anything and take that series, because it's not at all what I see my career being, but it really, they changed my life. Those girls changed my life.
That's
great.
amazing.
Yeah, I love that. And I think through all that, finding something that you're passionate about like that is life affirming and changing, that like we do grow. And while acting is your everything, my everything, Jason's everything, it's not the only thing. Like,
that's right.
And you can always be an actor your entire life, and parts will come, and you can do free things, and you can make your own stuff. But being able to go, oh, I'm not going to die if I don't do this. Like, I'm really enjoying this aspect of me that I had to sort of mute because I was told to for so long, and just focus on that one thing. It's huge. It's huge.
And I will say, like, I felt so fulfilled not only telling these girls stories, but there was a part of me that was like, again, this improvising, it's so stupid and like silly sounding, but like as an interviewer, that's all I was doing with these girls. Like I knew a handful of questions that I needed to get from them, but I'm just listening to them, and I'm responding, and I'm asking them questions, and I felt satisfied as a performer almost, because I have to be their sounding board. You know, if there's someone behind the camera, there was another guy who I absolutely adore, who was a shooter producer, so he was running the camera, and he's done so many reality shows, so many interviews in his life. He's so good at it. And I was like, I'm sorry, Gannon, I think it's better if I do the interviews, because these are all young women and they inherently trust me more than you. And he's like, you're totally right. So it was just like, I felt like it was, you know, just us in that room. And I don't know, it was like all of my performance was part of it, in the way that, like, still literally behind the camera, but making sure that they feel comfortable, and I'm like giving them all of that. You know, it was, if anyone's out there listening, we got to pick this show up. It's magic.
That's great. I'm
They're out
surprised
here
that
listening.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that hasn't been picked up yet. That's you know, considering all the
Platforms.
true crime docuseries of crimes against women. Could we show something about women that isn't making us a victim, but making us an advocate of ourselves? It would be nice to have the counterbalance to that, right?
And honestly, in spite of it, because I gotta tell you, like one of the girls, I'll stop talking about them in a second, but one of the girls had such a terrible, awful thing in her life happen that her mom brought it to her state senate and then to DC and got a law passed in her name to protect these girls. Like it's in spite of
Yeah.
these. Look, I'm a true crime freak. I
Me
love it.
too.
I can't get enough of it. But it's like you're right. In spite of all of this stuff that could have honestly turned a full different direction and would have been in that whole category of crime, true crime. And in spite of it, even in spite of this beautiful angel's differently abled soul,
Mhm.
she's a victor. It's a victory because she's got a law passed to protect hundreds and thousands of women now.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's no, I'm just shocked that it hasn't been picked up. Like, yeah, especially with all the streaming, like even Roku has streaming, which I didn't know.
Well, that's where
like
Marriage
Roku.
Pact is. Yeah.
Oh, that's why I know it now. I was like,
Yeah.
Roku has streaming, and I did not.
Yes.
Is that new? I feel like
I
that's
think
gotta
so.
be new.
I think so. And it's also what I learned because I don't have a Roku, but I learned you can download it and it's free. I think it's like a Peacock.
That's amazing.
Which is not free.
I do want to back
No?
up. I do want to back up for a show really, really, really quick because my son is obsessed with Pee Wee Herman.
Oh,
And Jason was traveling this weekend and he's watched Pee Wee's Big Adventure, Pee Wee's Playhouse,
so good.
Big
Big
Top
Top
Pee
Pee
Wee.
Wee.
Big Top Pee Wee. And what's the latest one? The newest one was
Pee Wee's Great Big Vacation.
Big Vacation. So he's seen them all. He loves Pee Wee. And we had a picture of Blippi come up on the screen and like a little thing. And he goes, Mom, he's so smart. I'm not kidding you. And he goes, is Blippi based on or informed by Pee Wee Herman? And I said, I haven't watched Blippi. What do you think? And he goes, I watched the trailer. I think it's informed by Pee Wee Herman.
Oh,
and I was like, and you worked on Blippi. So, but I want to ask you, because you worked on Blippi, is Blippi informed by Pee Wee Herman? I mean, my
God,
kid
now
is hilarious.
now I have to go. I have to go ask Moonbug, the production company, because I don't know. I would say he's right though, inferring that it's probably not based on, but more informed by.
So my kid's
God,
funny.
Jack.
He's fun. He's really smart.
He's
The
really
sage
smart, smarter than
7-year-old.
me. I did one
Terrified.
episode of Blippi. Those guys are awesome. Those guys crank out content like they're so good. They're fast and efficient. And for them, I did slightly less of a creative position, more of a straight up producer. And it's actually out now. It's a Blippi Lego. I'm sorry, Blippi Lego. Don't know. It's Blippi Play-Doh. Cross promotion. And it was so fun. And it's so funny because I tell parents that I did Blippi and they're like, oh my God. I'm like, I didn't know who this guy was. It's like, he's like kitty crack, I think, for some kids.
Yeah.
Not Jack. He's a Pee Wee guy.
Yeah,
I get it.
Jack is
He's got cousins who are into Blippi.
Yeah, and now he's found the Blues Clues movie, and he's like, "Did I watch Blues Clues when I was young?" And I'm like, "You still are young, but no,
you were a baby.
You were watching 1979 episodes of Sesame Street, and he liked the years of 79 to like 84 of Sesame Street, which bless his heart,
classic.
But yeah, he's not watching Blippi, but his cousins do.
It's fun. It's fun. Those guys are great. They're two Blippies, so they can like spread out and conquer the country. And
there are two Blippies.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Are they twins
the original,
or
no? The original, and then Clayton is the new one that I worked with. He's wonderful. He's just like, they look similar, but different. The kids can tell them apart. I'll tell you that. The kids know the difference between the two Blippies, but they just kind of coexist in the Blippi universe, I suppose.
Well, that would be like, what's the alter Superman? Like, this is like,
Clark Kent?
no. Like,
That's just normal Superman.
it's normal
Oh, that's super.
Superman.
That's just his secret identity, not his alternate.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
You're
Jack is
thinking
always like, there's got to be like a Shazam in an alter universe, like,
mm-hmm.
and I'm like, sure, whatever. Sometimes I'm not listening. He's too smart. I don't get it. I've got other
Yeah.
things to worry about. He's beyond me in the scope of what I can really ingest all the time.
Got a fully developed brain in a 7-year-old. That's terrifying.
I'm constantly on my heels. I don't have enough knowledge to bring to a conversation about the Blippy multiverse.
But what I want to know
okay.
is, I want to know this too. Has it made it easier that for you that most casting for the past 2 years has gone to self-tape? Are you finding it?
1,000%.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, I miss being in the room though.
Yes. 100%. But I don't miss trying to get to an audition, trying to park, getting into their waiting room, getting psyched out, going in for 30 seconds, and then saying, okay, bye. So yeah, but I also I miss being in the room, and I miss not being able to see my audition. I don't want to see my auditions anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to edit and send it in.
Yeah, I miss that too. You know, it's the give and take a little bit. I think I have some friends that are casting directors, and I think they miss being in the room too, because that's why they got into casting.
Yes.
For
sure.
And that's the biggest bummer of it, but it is so easy.
You can work now.
You
can actually hold your job and not get fired, not get written up, not have to worry about leaving. It's
it is.
Although they might ask you why you've set up a studio in your office.
Yeah, well, they can
just say it's for Zoom. It's for Zoom.
The walk-in fridge.
Yeah, listen, Kevin, why don't you go mind your business and get your decaf coffee?
Yeah, seriously.
I want to ask you about a couple more things you put down, because we've taken up a lot of your time.
Oh yeah, but speaking of interning, you interned in casting, and I've been in casting. I love casting. Casting is fabulous.
Casting is fabulous. It's you mentioned to me when you asked me to do the podcast, it's good, bad, and ugly. This is the ugly of it. Not the casting office was amazing. One of my best friends in the whole world was the casting. I think she was an associate at the time. She's now a casting director. Erica Silverman Bream. She's wonderful. I love her.
Erica Silverman.
She is truly. I call her, like, we call each other sisters. From, it's not like different misters, but like she was my first friend in this town. She took me under her wing immediately. She was 100% pure good, and I love her with my whole soul. So it was in her office, and they knew I was an actor, and so she would let me watch everything. She let me do everything with her. I would run the camera for these auditions, and this was back in the day when it was for Criminal Minds, and I was just a tiny tot. I was maybe 22, and I would run the camera, and the director, producer, and casting would all be in the room. They moved so fast already at that time on that show in particular that they would usually audition people, and maybe the next day, often the next day they would shoot. So like it was very fast, very constantly going. They were a great, well-oiled machine. So I'd sat in at this point on a couple of auditions, probably a couple weeks worth at this point. And so I knew the gig. I'm setting up the camera. I'm in the back of the room. I hit record, all of that. Erica's reading with the actors, and everyone's in and out. And there was this one day, and I honestly don't remember the episode or the part, but I remember this day, that every woman is getting the same note from the director. Every woman. So something in the sides, and I don't remember what it was. It wasn't bad. No one's getting bad feedback. It's just like something in the sides wasn't giving the actor enough information that the director, every single time someone auditioned, they had to like adjust each time. We've all been there as actors where you get a part, and it's like you're a tour guide, and you're like all high energy, and you get a note from casting like, actually, there's somebody on the back of the tour bus that just barfed, and whatever. You get it.
Yeah.
Really fully adjusted the scene, and most of the girls were taking the notes. These girls, I think it was a guest star, they were doing so well. Everyone did a really good job adjusting. And then we had one person one woman that was running late for the audition, and she called, and her agent was like, she's on the way. Do you guys mind waiting? And casting and the director and the producer were like, no. But Carrie, why don't you go meet her at the gate and give her the note? Just give her the note before she even gets in the room, because we've given it to everybody. And I was like, got it, no problem. So I've got my little clipboard and I got my pen and I'm waiting for her. And she comes in like a fucking tornado. I get it. We were stuck in traffic. Exactly what you were just talking about, Jamie. And it's a nightmare. You're in your head. And I was like, hey, I have a note for you from the director before you go in there. I'm walking with her to the little bungalow, and I give her the note, and she was like, who are you? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I'm a casting intern, and he asked me to give you the note. And she's like, well, I have to pee. Where's the bathroom? And I was like, oh, take your time. Why don't you just like take a breath? The bathroom's over there. I'll wait here, and then we'll go in together. She comes out of the bathroom. She was just like so rude and curt to me. And I was like, okay, so just a reminder, this is the note from the director. He's been giving it to everyone. So it's, no offense, but like, it's just to save us a little bit of time. And she was like, oh, whatever. And like blows past me, goes in the room. I go to the back of the room. I run the camera. She fucking nails the audition. It's flawless, perfect. Exactly what they've been looking for all day. We've been in there all day. And she does the one take and he's like, that's great. All right, I think we've seen enough. And she's like, okay, she's out of there. So I'm like packing up everything in the back of the room, wires, because cameras weren't on phones before. And and so I'm putting everything away, taking away the tripods, and they're split. The room's split. I think it's like 3 people to 3 people, one actor versus another. And the director doesn't know me from anybody, I just happened to be in the room, and he's like, hey, Carrie, who did you like better? And I'm like, oh shit, the girl that was just in is on the table and another woman. And I was like, and I look at Erica, and I remember this moment so clearly, because this is very similar to the dog walking moment. I'm a baby. I don't know what I'm doing. I was like, well, do you want me to be honest or not? And he was like, oh yeah. Tell me what you think. And I was like, okay, well, this woman's performance was the best. And the other girl was really, really good, but this girl's performance was the best. And he's like, why are you saying it like that? And I was like, oh, she was really mean to me when she got here. And he was like, okay, got it. He took her headshot and put it in the trash can.
Yeah.
And they had made their decision. And I was like,
Wow.
Everyone leaves the room, and I'm with Erica, and I was like, oh my God, what did I just do? She's like, you did the absolute right thing. I mean, no one wants to work with an asshole. She's going to be mean to you, who's setting her up for success, and literally gave her the best read that I've ever seen her do. Some words like that. This was a long, long time ago. She's like, but no one wants to work with an asshole. And I was like, okay.
Okay, we're gonna let her go because I feel like we've had her forever.
It's been awesome.
I know.
It's been so fun. Thank you guys. I really am so happy to be here. And maybe one day I can hug you again.
That would be amazing.
I'm doing it.
Oh, sweetheart.
She showed on Monday, made love on Tuesday. On Wednesday she was down. We fought on Thursday, made up on Friday. But now I'm losing ground. You call me lazy, you think I'm crazy. So why'd you come around? She want my money, but I got no money. This ain't no savings and loans. You why'd you come